This podcast is intended for adults only. We do not condone the use of any illegal substances, and anything we consume is for educational purposes only.
Because, we should be afraid of a plant that grows from the ground. And, endocannabinoid system is, it's in your body and it produces cannabinoids. You know what? I'm going to stop because I'm going to rant. Just play the music, Mitch.
Never thought be there right by my side, man. What a time it is to be alive. See, I'm charged up, feeling energized, building enterprise, move supersize. Yeah, I lecture like a side of fries. Whoa, false guys who you idolize. Yeah, go against us, I would not advise. We the highest in the room, just look up once and you can find us. Our song should have more plays, but we too though, they rewind us. All my talk is lined up, every day my girl get fined up. All my clothes is local, bitch, I really rock designer.
Gang, highest in the room, yo, we get fucked up. Hey, you can count on Trey Cap, bring the loud pack. Hey, get us in the stew and that's game over.
Thanks for tuning in to the Canna podcast, where we're cultivating conversations concerning cannabis, culture, and creativity. I'm Mitch Narita.
And I am Erick Esteban. And on today's episode 5, we're just going to do a little check-in. A little check-in with just me, your host, Erick Esteban, and my co-host,
Mitch Narita.
Because we've had, 4 episodes, and the first 2 were just me and you, so we don't really have to go over too much with that.
Yeah.
But we had some really cool guests on, and I'd love to talk about Keith and Kuyas, our first 2 guests. And if you haven't heard those episodes, you should really go back and listen to those episodes, and then this episode will make even more sense. Mm-hmm. But what do you think? How do you feel about this is our check-in episode. That's the title of the episode. When people tune into this episode, it'll be the Canna check-in episode. So I'm gonna check in with my co-host and see how he feels. How did you feel about the last couple of episodes?
I this is all very new, so I'm still learning a lot. Erick and I are pretty much doing all of this by ourselves. Like, we don't have a sound engineer or anyone. I'm learning as I go, and just trying to make each episode a little better. Learning a lot about just putting stuff together, like working with sound. It's pretty cool. But in terms of who we've been meeting, it's been really cool. Keith was a cool cat. Really eye-opening experience talking about the weed clubs in Canada and being able to do weed shows. That was
mind-blowing. I said it in the episode. I was like, you just described my dream comedy show. Mm-hmm. I mean, that was great. I mean, I think talking about the creative process with him and how he uses cannabis to write jokes, but not only that, like using the Tagalog accent and that specific joke writing to Filipino American comics and Filipino Canadian comics that we have, where our parents have accents, and how there's no real ownership to that because it's so universal within the culture. It was a really cool conversation about comedy, about cannabis, and about creativity, which is kind of the goal of this podcast, is to kind of meld all those worlds together. And I think it also, in Kuyas' story, it was kind of the same, where she discovered and, enhanced her knowledge in cannabis when she started podcasting with Snoop. And, how she was able to, when she walked in the door for her co-hosting gig, it was Martha and Snoop chilling there.
Yeah,
I mean, that was a pretty cool story, too.
No, meeting, that's one thing that I'm enjoying about this podcast, is just getting to know people a little better. You and Kuyas have a history, and you guys have known each other for a while. I've known her for a little bit too, because I met her through you. Mm-hmm. But in terms of just getting to know more about her, I learned a lot about her in the hour or 2 we spent on the podcast. And she's just mad funny. She's just really funny. Keith is super funny too. And it's amazing to see these people being able to just make a career or do that.
Well, and I like the fact that, to be honest, man, that they're open with how cannabis helps them with their life, and how the same way that it helps the two of us, and how we discussed in the first 2 episodes with us, how this is medicinal in a lot of ways for us. And that's part of what this whole podcast is about, is to destigmatize and, decriminalize this plant so that everybody can enjoy it the way we enjoy it. Although we don't again, you probably heard the new and improved disclaimer that we just uploaded, where we are not promoting or any use of minors to cannabis. This is all this is in my case. I'm an actual medical patient, so I have my own medical license from California. It's issued by the state. So
and I'm just a very big pothead.
No, but
I like weed.
But when I talk about cannabis as a medicine, it really is a medicine for me. And my kids know that Daddy's gonna go smoke his medicine. I don't hide it from anybody. If you listen to episode 1, you heard the story about how I told my parents. That this is what this podcast is for me. This is the goal of it. Is if there's a cat who empathizes with this and hasn't told their parents, or hasn't discussed it with their wife or their significant other, or hides it from their kids, this is a plant. This is a plant that grows from the ground, and cannabinoids are produced by our body through the endocannabinoid system, which is a
goes again with the cannabinoids.
No, but it's a fairly new discovery. It's a medical discovery that wasn't. It was like the late '90s that they discovered this in Israel. So it really is something that we are just scratching the surface on as far as the benefits of this plant. So again, that's the goal.
I think you just like that word because it has more than 4 syllables.
Bro, it always makes me sound smarter whenever I say cannabinoid. It makes me feel smarter. And then I had to recheck. I listened to some other podcast where scientists were saying it, because in the first episode when I said cannabinoid, you questioned my pronunciation of cannabinoid.
Was I right? Or?
No, you were wrong, sir. It was cannabinoid. Cannabinoid. The endocannabinoid system. You know, Mayabi Shields. Shout out to Mayabi Shields,
what?
PhD.
This guy's not even speaking English anymore.
No, Mayabi Shields, Dr. Mayabi Shields.
Okay. This is a person.
This is a person. I listened to podcasts that she does. Shout out to her. And I actually shot into her DMs to see if she would be on this podcast, because she would be able to explain the endocannabinoid system way better than my dumb ass. But she verified my pronunciation, because that's the way she pronounces it on her podcast.
Okay.
And she is a scientist and a doctor.
No, but I was worried you might have been having a stroke.
Don't joke about strokes.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's not a good thing to joke about, because you never know what might happen, because strokes that shit's real. That stroke scared me. Because guys, I'm turning 50 this year, and so health stuff scares me. I'll try to karmically stay away from joking about health.
Just don't put the bad juju out there. I'm sorry.
No, you don't have to apologize, but I'm just saying, like, I and also, well, anyway, but
in terms of checking in too, I think since the start of the podcast, it's kind of given me a little perspective on how I view my relationship with weed.
Okay.
Like, one of the things that I enjoy doing this podcast, but one of the things that I worry about doing this podcast is that I worry that people are only going to see me as the dude who smokes weed. They're just gonna, they're gonna lump it in, and it's that stereotypical, it's just a stoner, like.
I feel you, and you know what's funny about that? Your fear is my goal. I want to be known as the Filipino American comic. The pothead, the Filipino American pothead comic. I want to be that devil on your shoulder that tells you, "Yo, smoke this joint with me." I'm that dude. When we were talking to Nump about being.
Shout out to Nump,
and shout out to the fact that we lost that damn lunch footage.
Oh,
that was some good podcasts. But don't worry about that, because we'll have Nump on the show. If you didn't see the video on our Instagram, shout out to our Instagram. You should follow us on Instagram if you don't follow us on Instagram, because it is really, like, I guess the only platform that doesn't really ding you, and it kind of still does ding you, because
you can't smoke it on there.
You can't, but you can do stuff on the stories. Like, I posted all my plants on the stories, and I'm starting to get away with the pictures, because I feel like because they're going to deschedule, or it's going to go federally legal sooner than later, Instagram is gonna probably, let us start. I think it's easing up already. I can see it, just in the way that. But again,
anyways,
follow us on Instagram, please.
There we go.
Because
what's the at though? Let them know.
Canna Kuya Grow. at Canna Kuya Grow.
That's CANNAKUYA Grow.
You can spell grow too?
GROW.
Dubla?
W.
Yeah, but we'll definitely, we're gonna be posting more sketch videos there. We're gonna be posting a lot of stuff there. We're gonna be posting our pictures of the new Canna Kuya merch that will be available soon.
I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I'm really excited about the Canna Kuya merch because we'll have the Canna Kuya shirt and a Canna Kuya hat, Canna Kuya patches that you can put on other stuff, maybe Canna Kuya hoodie.
But we're also gonna have marijuana ate shirts.
I'm so excited about those marijuana
look
ate
so
shirts.
clean.
They're so
I'm
fire.
very happy.
I am very excited about all the merch. I'm excited about all of it because it's stuff that I would wear and it's stuff that I'm proud to sell and I'm proud to be. And you know that if you are buying a Canna Kuya merch of any type, of any quantity, and you are supporting a Filipino-owned small business, because it's really the two people that you are listening to are the owners and operators of this small business, the Canna Kuyas. So when you buy a piece of merch from us, you're supporting our small business and this podcast. So if you enjoy this podcast, why don't you think about subscribing, doing a big rate, five-star rating on Apple, and maybe leaving a review. And when the merch comes out, follow us on Instagram, Canna Kuya Grow, and watch out for that merch drop because it's coming soon. But to kind of like, this episode is the check-in.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like what's to come, but also, you know, the recap of what has happened. But I kind of want to give the listeners a little bit of, I don't know if you guys heard, because there've been a few downloads of the special episode of the Canna Kuya Grow episode podcast with Bud Trainer, where I interviewed H from Bud Trainer, and he gave like a set up your first grow. And if you guys like that, and that's something that that's content that you want, I will definitely reach out to more people in the grow community and give you as much information as I can provide for you to help set up your own home grows. Because I know you were talking about your homie that texted you after episode 1 or 2, right?
Yeah. So one of my buddies, he listened to the podcast, and then he's like, you know what? I was thinking about growing again, like setting it up, because it just makes sense. Because he told me he was spending a good amount of money on weed, so why not? He has the space. I'm still in my 1-bedroom, guys. Progress is slow.
We're only on episode 5, guys.
Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there. I paid rent this month, so
you didn't spend as much money on weed though this month, did you?
Not at all. Not at all.
See, we're saving money already.
I still did go to the dispensary.
I did too.
Which brings us to our next section, I guess.
Sure. Because I mean, I don't think that this episode really has to be that long, because again, we're gonna have a lot of guests coming for you. We got a lot of guests coming to the slate. We've got grow community guests, we've got creative community guests, and hopefully, like I said, I want to have scientific community people to kind of explain the benefits of this plant and the endocannabinoid system to you. So, but
so if you guys know anyone in those circles, added points if they're Filipinos.
Yeah, I mean, it's great if they're Filipino, but they don't necessarily have to be.
No, they don't have to be.
We're the Canna Kuyas, and every female guest is a Canna. Every female guest is a marijuana ate, and every male guest is a Canna Kuya, because Canna Kuya means, well, Kuya is a term for older brother in Filipino culture. Like you would, it's a term of respect as far as it's your older brother, or your maybe even like your younger uncle, but he's closer to you in age, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So you could call him a kuya, but it's a term of respect.
And then ate is the female equivalent.
Correct. And so whenever you come to join us on the podcast, you're a brother, you're a sister. So that's really the term. It doesn't mean you're Filipino or you're not Filipino. It really means you're just one of our brothers and sisters when you come to do the Canna Kuya podcast.
And guys, secret, it's a term or terms what we made up, so it's all inclusive. It could be anybody.
Well, and I think at the end of the day, this podcast is all inclusive. Period. That's kind of been the goal of this podcast because, I mean, let's go back to the Aislinger quote, and the exclusion of that term, and how that's exactly the opposite of what we're trying to do. So
we're trying to open up conversations, people.
Yeah, cultivate conversations. That's the one thing that I like to think about and do because cultivating conversations about this plant and how it relates to our community and our culture is what it's all about for us here at the Canna podcast. But I guess to go forward and to move this podcast along and this episode along, we should really go into the sample branch harvest of my latest grow and what we did this afternoon before we started podcasting. Mm-hmm. I chopped a little bit of what shout out to the Humboldt Seed Company. I grew out some mint jelly autoflower plants. They scheduled. They said take about 90 days, and they took about 100 days. And it was almost to schedule with those plants. It was perfect. The genetics on those are awesome. And so I harvested them a week ago, and they've been drying for about a week. And when we visited the Living Vibes Farms, and shout out to Kevin, he was like, the stuff that we smoked at Living Vibes Farm had only been drying for 5 days. Mm-hmm. And my first harvest that we smoked, I had let that dry for 14 days. And so when Kevin gave us the weed that we smoked and it was only 5 days dried, I was like, well, let me experiment with how long I'm drying my stuff, because if this master grower is only, he's letting you try his stuff after 5 days, then what am I doing waiting 14 days to smoke this stuff?
So did you notice anything? Like
well, what I noticed about the mint jelly for sure, that it's still a little moist. Like the joint, I had to relight it like 2 or 3 times because it was still a little wet almost.
A little sticky?
Yeah, it was a little sticky. It's very sticky, but also very light. Because the branch that I had cut, it was one of the lower branches, so it was like not necessarily a substantial bigger bud. It was like some of the lower, lesser developed larvae bud, like the smaller buds.
Okay.
So it was just that's why I was able to I wasn't worried about pulling it down and sampling it, because it wasn't a lot of weed. It was barely like a gram of weed with, I guess it was more than a gram of weed because it filled up 4 joints.
I smoked one of them. We smoked before.
Yeah, we smoked 2 of them.
Like as per usual.
As per usual. You always, I mean, and this is the other thing about, I reached out to a lot of people for this podcast, and part of it is, you get to sample the homegrown. Mm-hmm. That's always a part of the podcast, is sampling the homegrown. And so when I tried it for the first time, I grew up on Weed University, on YouTube University, learning how to grow weed, right? So I was listening to all these cats who grow weed and how they taste this hint of this and hint of that, and I'm like, I don't. What are you talking about, right? I thought my palate was broken or something.
Broken?
No, for real. I didn't. I just didn't. I was like, man, I guess I don't have a palate for weed. Well, come to think of it, when I was watching those videos and doing that, I was really just smoking mostly dispo weed, dispensary weed. And so when I was smoking this mint jelly, there's like sweet aftertastes in my mouth and all these different hints of citrus and grapefruit and all these different tastes. And I'm like, holy cow. It wasn't the fact that I don't have a palate and my palate was broken. I didn't know how to taste weed. It was just that the weed that I was smoking just wasn't as good as the weed that I grow, because I can actually taste the different tastes. Because like that first smoke of my mint jelly was like, it was like candy. It was like smoking candy for me.
So what I've learned is when you have a joint and it's freshly rolled, you're supposed to give it a couple dry puffs before you light it, because that way you can taste the quote unquote flavor profile.
And that is exactly what I did. I did that actually I did that almost. I did like 10 or 12 pre-drags before lighting
I don't think you need to do that many.
I didn't because it wasn't that I was doing it for the quantity of doing it. It was because
Just
every time I did it,
a tiny penis.
no, bitch. It was, no, it was because every time I did it, I could taste something. It was something. There was a little taste to it because you could, like you said, when you inhale a little bit before you light it and you pre-smoke it almost. There's a little bit of taste to it. It's like when you sniff a wine glass, you know, and you sniff the tannins of the wine, and you swirl it around or whatever the fuck it is. I forget what it is. I've done a lot of wine tasting because I worked in a lot of restaurants, so that's.
I feel like that's such a racket, though.
Oh, I think it to a degree is, and I think it even in cannabis to a degree, I think it might be a little bit. But at the same time, now that I'm actually growing and I actually experience that and I can actually pre-inhale and smell and taste and and then when I'm smoking it, I can taste and I can have this sweet aftertaste and all these things. I can kind of say, okay, if you're growing it and you know, it's different. It's a different.
No, I can relate. Aside from wine is for me is just very pretentious. It just in general.
I like wine better.
For weed, I feel that my palate is more trained in that way.
Sure.
Just because of the amount I've smoked over the years and the different amounts and strains that I've tried. But yeah, I will say that this. It didn't hit as hard as your gelato.
No.
And I'm not going to call it the other thing. I'm not going to call it
the Larry Bird cut?
Oh, fuck you, man.
That's what it's called, homie.
That's fine. You know,
it's Gelato 33. It was the mother of a lot of strains that you guys like.
You know what? Somebody
I don't know how the hell I was lucky enough to get this cut of Gelato 33, the fabled and legendary Larry Bird cut.
Whatever. Hey, can somebody invent a Kobe 24 just to shut this fool up?
Bro,
like a number 8.
Homie, it is just, that's just the number. I don't know why you're so sensitive.
I don't know.
I mean, I guess because you're a Lakers fan, you're a little more insecure. Because as a Bulls fan, I'm pretty secure in my championships.
That's fine. Bulls. I got no hate against the Bulls.
I got no hate against the Lakers
either. But you
either.
dare mention Larry Bird all the time in my presence?
Listen, that's just the name of the strain, homie.
Okay.
What do you want from me?
I don't know. We could just call it.
That's
Gelato.
what it's called. Look, I'm going to show you the picture. It's what it says.
I know this.
That's on the listing. It says Gelato 33, the Larry Bird cut.
This guy's just rubbing salt in wounds now.
I don't know what you want me to say.
Anyways.
So what you're saying is the Larry Bird cut was superior.
I want to reach across this table. I want to reach across this table right now, guys. I'm not a violent person.
But that's what you just said, isn't it?
I'm about to choke a bitch.
Did you just say so what you just said? You just said that you like the mint jelly, but you prefer the Larry Bird.
I never said that. I just said it doesn't hit as hard. Not initially. So
because Larry Bird, man, he always be hitting every shot.
No, yeah, okay, sure. This is the culture part of the podcast. I'm glad somebody's enjoying this conversation.
Oh, I love it. It's the best because the only reason is because you like the gelato very much.
No, it was fine. No, it's really good. It's a really good thing. But it doesn't. So in terms of.
So you're saying Larry Bird's really good?
The weed, yeah.
I'm gonna stop messing with you because I'm starting to cry.
No, it's not gonna cry. All of Laker Nation is gonna come down on you, and you're gonna be like, "What did I do?
Listen,
what did I do?"
I like it. I love Kobe. I like the Lakers. I enjoy living in Los Angeles, but it's just fun to fuck with you because it messes with you that you enjoy the Gelato 33. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right.
But yeah, so the mint jelly, it doesn't hit as hard initially. It doesn't.
Yeah.
It's not like a punch in the face.
No.
This one is a slow burn, and I knew it when I was smoking it.
How do you? What were the effects? How do you feel on the high?
It's a very sustained high.
Yeah.
It's a very lingering.
That was the thing I liked about it, was the lingering part about it.
It doesn't make me as spacey. Like in terms of like thought process, like everything's pretty clear. I do feel it in my body, so I'm pretty sure the way I would describe it would be like a sativa hybrid, like sativa dominant.
It's definitely a sativa more leaning as far as like it's a more energetic, less sleepy, couch lock kind of high. Than what and not to say the gelato is necessarily a couch lock high, but it's definitely a more heady.
No, but I feel for that one, it was more, like initially, like when you get that initial...
It's like a shock to the head. Like
you're like, whoa, and then your body has to readjust, and then it's like, okay, I'm cool, I'm chilling.
Yeah.
But initially, it's kind of like, whoa. It's kind of like you just dunk your head underwater real quick.
Yeah. It's almost like you, like when you initially hit gelato, it's almost like you dunk your head in ice water. Mm-hmm. And then it's like that same.
It wakes
type
you
of,
up, yeah.
It's that same type of thing where like the cold of the ice water like dribbles down your whole body, and it's kind of like it's like kind of like that same cooling sensation down your whole body after the after effects of gelato afterwards. That's kind of how it feels for me.
Yeah, but the mint jelly is good.
Yeah,
it's a nice. I feel if you're not trying to get if you're trying to get stuff done. That's something good. Like I think I mentioned like that would be like the type of weed I'd like smoke and then like I'm gonna clean my apartment.
Yeah.
Like,
you said you're about to go clean some shit. Yeah. You clean my house if you want.
I'm gonna organize some stuff.
But I love it. I'm not mad at it at all. Like I will say, like, so I've grown out now. The first harvest I'm just gonna scratch. That was just me messing.
Learning?
I'm me learning it, and so whatever we got from that, because you smoked all of that. Mm-hmm. You've smoked every harvest, or at least sampled every harvest that I've grown.
Can I?
What?
Be honest?
Yeah.
I'm very glad that you're learning, because like each harvest that you have is less and less dry.
Yeah.
Like significantly less dry.
No, yeah.
No, like that first harvest was
fucked up, because the first harvest I didn't know. Well, first I was stupid because I had it all set up in a trellis, and then when I was getting ready to harvest it, I was so excited to harvest it that I removed the trellis, and so the plant went up and like kind of like it was being held up by the trellis. Mm-hmm. So some of those branches were being held down, and so when I removed the trellis, they came up again, but then it flopped the plant all over, and it was like all disformed and disfigured, and so that, and then I had fungus gnats, and then it was a nightmare. So then I just cut them down and put them in a paper bag, mm-hmm. because I didn't know what else to do, because I didn't have any place to dry them because I didn't have a drying tent. So that's why that first harvest was not a very good. It was just emergency. Oh my God, I hope I get something out of this.
No, that was definitely like what people would call like stress, or what did Kalia call it? Reggie?
Yeah, there you go. But or even Mexican press, or like a brickweed. It was what it was just okay, But the next round, when we had, when I knew what I was doing, because I, wasn't just throwing everything in the kitchen sink at it, that's when we got the Gelato 33, and also we got the Chili Verde. But if you compare those two strains, the only one that I'm keeping is Gelato 33.
No, you're locking in the process. Like you're locking it in, and I'm impressed with the speed that you're learning everything. Because as someone,
obsession's a hell of a drug, homie.
Would it be obsession?
Yeah, no. Sometimes the way that my kids and my wife react to like how long I'm in the garden. And, when I'm training these plants and, like using the bud trainer plants and, really making sure the whole canopy's even and shit. And I'm like Mr. Miyagi in that bitch. And even the kids will be like, oh, well, daddy's with his plants. So, yeah, sometimes I feel like I'm a little obsessed with this shit. So, yeah, but part of that now is like now that I've kind of locked in a little bit of my process, I can almost step back a little bit more now.
Can I ask you something related to your family?
Sure, of course.
So, so your kids have seen you with the plants. Do they know what it is?
Yeah.
So how does that work? Like, how have you explained that to your kids, or how, like, what's their understanding of it?
Well, I waited for them to ask me about it.
Okay.
Because I didn't hide it from them.
Okay.
So my oldest, Malia, she's not one to like pry and stuff. Like, she's just like, that's just daddy, and that's his medicine, and she never really asked about it. But my youngest, Marley, she's like, Daddy, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, that's daddy's medicine. You know, like, that's when I go smoke, that's a plant, and that's daddy's medicine. And now that I'm growing it, they can actually see that it's a plant, that where it comes from, and then they see the flowers growing and developing, and I'm like, see, this is the bud, this is the flower. See how, look at how beautiful it is when it's a flower. And they see it and they show it, and then can you smell it? Oh yeah, it smells like the beach, Daddy. This is gross. It doesn't smell nice from me. Okay, cool. You don't like the smell. My oldest said it smells like seawater, but I don't hide the plants from them, because, again, it's a plant. You know what I'm saying? So if I'm going to tell them that this is my medicine and I grow my own medicine, well, now they're going to know the whole process, and they see everything. And so, yeah, my oldest was going to get, like, when we go on tour, she's the one who's probably going to be watering the plants. So, yeah, no, I don't, I treat it like a plant. It's like I didn't hide the tomatoes from them when I grew the tomatoes in the garden, right? Same thing. We used the tomatoes. I used the cannabis.
See, that's so interesting to me. Like, that's... Because just the way that, like, I grew up, like I still have very complicated feelings towards this thing,
I feel you.
Like, I'm very out there and about it, like, when it comes to certain people, but then, like, like, when it comes to family, I chill. Like, I don't talk about it. I don't do any of that. And
now I've gotten to, again, it really was after I told my parents. One was step one, and then step two was growing, and it changed the connection that I have with this plant. Like, it changed the connection that I have with all of it. But really, like, once I stopped hiding it from my parents, that's when I became an adult with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is medicine, just in the same way anybody would take any other medicine that they were prescribed by their doctor. Well, this is the same thing for me, and now I have a medical license for it. So and I talked to my doctor, my primary care physician. He knows about, that I use cannabis and that I grow cannabis.
And to any of our listeners, let us know how you've told people around you about this, or even if you've done that at all. What's your relationship with weed, and how does it fit into your social life? Like, we're interested to know. So drop us comments, mention stuff in our reviews, Spotify,
That's what this is
Apple.
all about, cultivating conversations about cannabis and how we share it. But also, part of my attitude towards cannabis is my attitude towards destigmatizing it. If I'm going to hide it and be scared and do all this stuff with my kids, then why would I expect this podcast to destigmatize? You know what I mean? Or whatever.
Like, if you're gonna act like something's wrong, then your kids are gonna pick up, like, oh, what he's doing is not on the level. Like, they're gonna understand that.
Yeah.
So the more you normalize it.
I have close friends that I've reached out to that I know that smoke weed as just as much as I do, and I've wanted them to be on this podcast, and they don't want to tell their kids, and I respect that. This is not for everybody. This is just for me and my kids. I'm not trying to tell everybody to share this and do this with their kids. This is just how it works for my kids, and how I feel the dynamic works for my kids, and the honesty level that I want to have with my kids. But if you don't feel that this is a thing that you want to do with your kids, I'm not telling you to share this with your kids. This is just how I have my relationship with my own children, and how I want to be, and how I want them to look at me as a dad.
Respect.
Yeah.
And in terms of letting people know out there, we wanted to do shout outs to certain businesses. I wanted to focus on Filipino businesses, and I wanted to shout them out. But Eric brought up a really good point that we are a cannabis podcast, and that association may not necessarily be great for anyone. just because, there are complicated views towards it. So,
But that said, guys, if you do know some Filipino Canadian, Filipino American, Filipino Indonesian, I don't give a fuck where y'all are. If you are in the cannabis industry and want to be a guest on the Canna podcast and share your story, please shout us out, hit us a DM on Instagram, write us a review. We'll hit us up on any one of our emails, hit us up on our website, on my website, ericesteban.com or the12productions.com. Just reach out because we would love to talk to you. We would love to StreamYard with you, Zoom with you, whatever service we're going to do to stream. But we'd love to communicate with you, and we'd love to share your story. If you are a Filipino American cannabis in the cannabis industry, we'd love to talk with you. And just know that we have some folks in the Filipino American cannabis industry that are slated to come on and be a guest on the Canna podcast. So they're coming, and if you have any suggestions, please again hit us up because we're open to it.
Yeah, and aside from the cannabis industry, if you have any small businesses that you think we should shout out, just give us the info, and we definitely could use our platform to help promote. So,
and I guess the last one is if you are a Filipino American business and do want to be associated with the Canna podcast and want us to shout you out, again, hit us up in our DMs because we are definitely about promoting Filipino Americans, Filipino American business, Filipino American creativity, Filipino American community, but also cannabis. So, but again, here's what I'm going to say. If you want to help us out and you want to subscribe, you can subscribe on Apple or Spotify. You can also, if you want to help us out, but you can't subscribe right now, that's cool. Just rate us. Give us a 5-star rating on Apple. Give us a like on Spotify and write us a review on Spotify and Apple. You don't know how much that helps the algorithm and gets our podcast into more ears and more eyes and more people.
You want us in people's eyes?
Well, you could go to the Instagram and you can see what we're doing. So yeah, you could be in the eyes.
Beautiful eyes.
Beautiful eyes. Beautiful eyes.
Close
you can
open.
Do it. Yeah, close open. You can. Nah, but for real, like, I if you guys write a review on Apple, I mean, thank you. I'm shout out to Amanda Payne, my girl on the Phil Am Comedy Jam in Chicago. I know that was you who wrote I can listen to my Kuya every week. Shout out to you for that review. I love you for that. Yeah, I mean, if you want to get shout out, we will shout out you if you write us a nice review. We'll read it on the podcast.
Do you know who Art LeBeau is?
Art LeBeau?
Yeah, have you ever heard of Art LeBeau?
No.
Oh my God. So Art LeBeau was he was a California DJ, and he had this thing where you could write into his show, and he would read your letters or emails or whatever, and it was the greatest because he would do like it doesn't matter who it was from. Like, I'm pretty sure they had to vet some people, but like for the most part, like he would read letters from like people from all walks of life, and then occasionally he'd get like people from prison. So it'd be this like very I don't want to say like Casey Kasem, but he was like one of those old school radio personalities. Sure. And
yeah.
He'd be like, "Oh, this is Art LeBeau, and this next letter goes out to my Ruka, Sylvia, from your man Little Joker. You know that I miss you, for reals, and I'll be with you soon. This next song is dedicated to you." And like he would do that, like.
So he's kind of like that lady on Easy Listening, a little bit like that lady. I can't remember her name. But
what's Easy Listening? What do you mean?
There's an Easy Listening station that my wife be listening to, and there's this soft spoken white lady. Yeah, this soft spoken white lady that always be like reading like shout outs like that, like her listeners are like email her, and then so I'm saying if you want us to shout out the Canna Kuyas to shout you out on the podcast, we'll shout you out, guys.
Make us the Filipino Art LeBeaus. Arturo Labobos.
Jesus Christ.
I don't know. I'm trying.
You're gonna get us canceled.
I'm trying. Why is that canceled?
I don't even know what Labobos mean. Man, we better learn Tagalog before we start making up names.
No, you know what Bobo means.
Bobo means stupid.
Yeah, so
So I guess we're La Bobos.
The Bobos.
Yeah, we're the Bobos. Yo, again, rate, listen, subscribe, review, and follow us on Instagram. Canna Grows.
Tell them 20 more times, Eric. Tell them 20 more times.
I'm going to tell them 20 more times, or we could just play the song.
All right, so for all the Canna Kuyas and the marijuana ates, stay lifted.
Yeah.
Whoa. Yeah. Gato. Yeah, I got my hoodie on, now peep the chest as human catalyst. Downtown Chula Vista, on 3rd Ave where I go cop some shit. Fuck a thief, so fuck zoomies, yeah, they whack ass jacket shit. Yeah, I move too swift, so I'm striking silence. Fuck the violence, man, check my mileage, cause I got driving. First tour, I drove 6 states, never thought I'd be there right by my side, man. What a time it is to be alive. See, I'm charged up, feeling energized, do the enterprise, move supersize. Y'all extra like a side of fries. Whoa, false guys who you idolize, yeah, go against us, I would not advise. We the highest in the room, just look up, boys, and you can find us. Our song should have more plays, but we too though, they rewind us. All my targets lined up, every day my girl get fined up. All my clothes is local, bitch, I really rock designer.
Gang, highest in the room, yo, we get fucked up. You can count on Trey Cap, bring the loud pack. Get us in the stew and that's game over. Western Metal Building, that's a home run. Yeah, keep the up or leave the fuck a Folgers. Little bitch, I made the beat and dropped the full verse. I just hit a steelo, I got dripped up. Package born and raised, bitch, I got dripped up. Y no se compara. Yo estoy con mi pana, se llama Trigger, fumando ganja. Estamos con Cali, fumando en Cali, yo sé que traen ganas. Ella me dice, papi, que terminamos la cama. Highest in the room, yeah, we get fucked up. You can count on Trey Cap, bring the loud pack. Get us in the stew and that's game over. Western Metal Building, that's a home run.
Yeah, we got hits like Tatis and Machado, man, we know you're not a leader. Cause all our moves you just follow, packing big bowls. You know we just scooped up that gelato, cause I smoke killer. My shirt iller, yo, ask our dealer, we the highest in the room, just look up, boys, and you can find us. Our song should have more plays, but we too though, they rewind us. All my targets lined up, every day my girl get fined up. All my clothes is local, bitch, I really rock designer.